Hello, you are listening to the Wellness Project with Des. I'm your host, Desiree, a mental health therapist and holistic wellness coach. On my podcast, I interview experts in the field of mental health and wellness, as well as those who share their firsthand accounts of their mental health journeys. These interviews will give you many tips, tools, and strategies to improve your mental health, as well as give you hope, support, encouragement, and inspiration on your own personal mental health and wellness journey. Thanks so much for being here. I would greatly appreciate it if you took a moment to leave me a review on iTunes and leave the podcast 5 stars on Spotify. It really helps the podcast to grow, which in turn helps me to keep bringing on amazing guests and spreading mental health and wellness education and support. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss an episode. Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey towards holistic well-being, unlocking the full potential of your mind, body, and spirit? If so, I'm thrilled to invite you to my program, the Holistic Wellness Transformation Coaching Program. My one-to-one coaching program is a comprehensive and individualized approach to help you improve your overall well-being. As a holistic wellness coach, I'm here to guide you on a transformative journey to attain balance and harmony in all areas of your life. With personalized coaching sessions, I'll offer guidance and support throughout your wellness journey. Starting with a thorough holistic assessment. We'll dive into your past, habits, thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and patterns that may be holding you back and no longer serving you. This assessment forms the foundation for your customized wellness plan. Together, we'll explore the 8 foundational elements of wellness to ensure you feel balanced and aligned with your goals and your values. This program goes beyond the surface, providing you with mental and emotional support. I will help you to manage stress, anxiety, and other challenges such as perfectionism and people pleasing, offering techniques and strategies to enhance your resilience and your skills. The benefits of this program cannot be overstated. I'll be there every step of the way to support you in achieving balance and harmony in your life, manage stress, and improve your emotional well-being. Nurture healthy connections, create lasting, healthy habits, achieve your goals, and gain confidence in your ability to transform your life. Join me on this journey to holistic wellness. You could go to my website to check out my various packages, and you could go to my Calendly link found in the show notes to schedule a free 30-minute consultation call where we will go over the 8 core areas of wellness, as well as your goals and your dream life. Reach out and let's get started on your wellness journey so you can finally live the life you want. Hey there, I'm your host Des, and you are listening to episode number 181. On today's episode, I am speaking with nutritionist Valerie Hawkins all about neuronutrition. Valerie's going to define what neuronutrition is and how what we eat impacts our brain health and how our brain health impacts our mental health. She's going to share her own personal story of how she grew up with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, migraines, anxiety, and depression, and how when she shifted what she was eating and made changes to her diet, a lot of what she was suffering with cleared up or decreased in a very short amount of time. She went for her master's in nutrition and really began to understand the impact that what we consume and put in our bodies has on our overall well-being, including our mental health. I'm really looking forward to you hearing this conversation. I learned a lot from Valerie, and I think you will too. So help me welcome Valerie. Hi, Valerie. Welcome on the show.
Hi, Desiree. Really appreciate you having me on today.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to talking with you. So, we're talking all about mental health and what we consume, what we put in our bodies, nutrition. So, I would love, before we get started on this great conversation, introduce yourself, tell us who you are, how you got to where you are today, and how you got into this field.
Okay, so I'll give you the shorter version. So I'm Valerie Hawkins, and I practice neuronutrition. I'm a nutritionist and focus on brain health, everything to do with brain health, anything about nutrition that impacts the brain and conditions that are affected by brain, like ADHD, anxiety, migraine, neurodegenerative, but I actually started with mostly just mood disorders, anxiety, depression, and stress. That's where I started because that's kind of my story. I kind of like I had all the other things. I had like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, migraine since I was really little. The thing that kind of would continue to weave through it was like different amounts of like anxiety. Now I think it was different levels of depression, like at different times. I was like a go, 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 go person. I actually had got my degree in engineering, worked for a large corporation doing engineering. I had children, so I said I needed to change what I was doing because I needed more flexibility. So I kind of had an awareness that like it was too much, right? It wasn't going to fit my lifestyle, what I wanted to do. So I actually used the MBA I had and started childcare centers as a separate thing. So I loved, loved, loved that. Love working with children. But again, I saw like in myself and in the mothers that there was a lot of burnout and overwhelm and anxiety and depression because like having children and working is so challenging and like you think you need to do it all on your own and you're magically supposed to be able to do all these things without like support networks and things like that. So I find like a lot of people were overwhelmed, didn't know what to do. And one big thing that helped myself and people at the beginning was really working on nervous system regulation. And that was my very first in was like really doing more of the emotional stuff, the mental work. And that got me really far. Like I think that helped myself. I did coaching. I helped other women as well at the time. But my diet was terrible. Horrible. Think of a bad diet, fast food, sodas, everything. It tasted great, I thought at the time, but I think it was like it's a standard American diet. But it was like really, now I'm thinking, it was like, oh my gosh, what was I doing to myself? It was terrible. Like, where were the nutrients? There weren't any in there. So, like, one day I was just so exhausted and so tired, and I'd done all this other work on like nervous system disorder. I said, maybe it's the food. I think I had seen a documentary the day before, and I said, what if I just eliminated sugar? I'm just going to eliminate added sugar, not go crazy, reduce it about 20 grams a day, which is really low, which is like, a piece of bread might have 4 grams of sugar. So I had to be really, I didn't really think about anything else, just reduce the sugar. And I probably was drinking 4 or 5 cans of soda, sweet tea, lots of sugar in my coffee. For me, that was significant reduction. Within about a week, I had more energy, like all those aches and pains went away. My headaches really went to almost nothing. And I was like, what is happening? Is it really the food? That's the only change I made. And I felt so much better. So that's when I kind of did a deep dive into all things nutrition and what's going on with this. I got my master's in nutrition. I went down that whole pathway. And I kind of always combine the two as far as like nervous system dysregulation, really working on stress and combining that with nutrition. So myself and clients can stay in that state where their body can heal naturally, detox naturally, and get support from the nutrition.
Okay, great. So interesting. So you saw a documentary and that kind of planted the seed. Maybe
Mhm.
it's the food that I'm ingesting, that the things I'm consuming, and then pretty much immediately you saw a difference just cutting out the sugar.
It was crazy. Yeah. Not one doctor ever asked me, what are you eating? What do you eat? What's your diet like?
Right. And I think that is a
Yeah.
huge disconnection between our modern medical model and what we consume. There's just a huge disconnection there. We know that it's a cliche phrase, but we are what we eat. What we eat impacts us so much and impacts our mental health. Absolutely. So you mentioned neuronutrition. What is that exactly?
For me, it's really supporting, I would say, your biochemical pathways and your brain cells, things like neurotransmitters, your hormones, with food, supplements, and lifestyle. Really focusing on like feeding your brain cells, feeding your brain, feeding everything in your brain. And that will help your energy levels. It's going to help your mood, just as far as like being tired, fatigue. It's going to help your neurotransmitters, your serotonin, your dopamine, your GABA. When you deal with those issues, you address like a lot of things with anxiety and depression. I think I mentioned migraines and pain, neurodegenerative like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, MS, ADHD, just cognitive performance, enhancing cognitive performance for better memory, better clarity, like all of those things. So it's kind of really focusing on supporting the mitochondria, the brain cells, looking at inflammation, oxidative stress, your hormones, your gut. So anything in your body that's going to impact your brain, that's kind of the focus. Like, so as far as like brain forward, like what is going on in your body that's impacting your brain and focusing on that nutritionally, nutrient supplements, food, as well as lifestyle.
Thank you for explaining that, because I had never heard that specific term. So going back to talking about that, the food we eat, how it impacts our brain, how it impacts our mental health. You mentioned the depression and anxiety, and you mentioned that you saw that with yourself. Sounds like you're seeing that with a lot of clients. Are there any misconceptions when it comes to what we're eating between our diet and our mental health? Is there any common misconceptions that you're seeing with
Mm.
your clients? I guess one would be that it's not impacting our mental health.
Yeah, I would say like they're either two extremes. Either there's no clue that their diet will impact their mental health. I think people might understand energy levels, but that's about like that's close. But most people don't understand the impact to like their mood. And it might be anxiety, depression, or anger, or procrastination, like all the different things that are kind of related to mood and brain. Most people don't understand. Or there might be the opposite, and they might have kind of researched it a bit and they, oh, it's an elimination diet. It's very restrictive. It's a very strict diet. I feel like there'll be either one of two camps. So, oh, I don't want to do it because it's very restrictive, which is not, that's not actually what you would do to help someone with these types of conditions. Or like there's no clue that there's any interrelation. I think people hear the gut-brain axis a lot, but for some reason they're just not thinking food. And that's the first part.
Okay, so say someone starts to recognize, or maybe they don't recognize, maybe they come to you or a therapist or somebody that their mood is not good, they're trying all the things. What are the first steps? So you mentioned cutting out sugar for yourself. That is what you started with. Are there any sort of simple steps someone can take to improve their mental health, their well-being with their diet?
Yeah, for me it was sugar, and for that was a lot of inflammation, like likely, lots of inflammation. But I think the thing that I did inadvertently when I did that was I increased like vegetables, fiber, and protein just because like I eliminate tons of calories with sugar, and I just naturally did that. So I would say for most people, yeah, we could look at cutting out sugar and reducing inflammation, and that's a big part of it. But the other part, I think I'm pretty protein forward because protein is like super critical for building blocks for everything, just for like immunity, for health and wellness in general. Some parts of proteins, which are amino acids, are critical for neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, GABA, and they're critical as a building block for those. So if you're not getting enough protein in or getting those amino acids up into your brain just will not make those neurotransmitters as effectively. There's lots of other things that can go into making those neurotransmitters, helping brain health, but like protein is like the fundamental piece. Like you can do all the other things, but if you're not getting the fundamental part, which is protein, it will be difficult. And it's surprising how just sometimes people are eating low in protein, and just by increasing their protein, like they'll start feeling like a lot better.
Okay, great. And do you have any examples of how someone can intentionally increase their protein intake?
For most people, I work a lot with women, and I start with breakfast because breakfast seems to be the one meal of the day that's lower in protein than most, right? You might get a lot in dinner, but you're not, and like you don't get the total in because you're missing that meal. So I would start with just like basic things in the morning, making sure you're getting like if you like eggs, try 2, 3 eggs in the morning. Eggs are really healthy for you. If you don't want to eat eggs, like Greek yogurt has a good amount of protein in it. I use a protein powder that I can mix with different things. I can mix it into a yogurt. I can mix it into a juice or a water or something I want to drink. So sometimes people will just use some protein powder to add to give it a little bit of boost. Or the other thing I said, don't think breakfast foods necessarily for breakfast. Think of a protein. It might be a leftover. Like if you had steak or chicken or something the night before, cut it up small, put it into an omelet, put it into a scramble, eat it separately. So just don't limit yourself to just breakfast foods, but really think of like simple things you can do for breakfast. It's like a protein from the night before, eggs, or like a Greek yogurt, or some things I commonly would recommend.
Those are really great tips. And I think you're right. I think so many people, I work in a middle school and high school, and all the students tell me that
Mm,
they don't eat breakfast or lunch. And I'm like, you're just hungry all day. They only eat dinner. So that's a really great tip, is to include something simple like that, even leftovers. I know there's some, I always go to Pinterest. Pinterest is just my go-to for recipes. And there's a
mm.
lot of different, I'm vegetarian, so I have to try to be a little more intentional about getting protein, beans, and things like that. But it's my go-to. I'll search up like high protein breakfast, and some things like I have like a sweet potato hash and like things like that will
That
come
type
up.
of
So
stuff. Yeah, those are
yeah,
good. Yeah, I
yeah,
like those.
great tip. So it sounds like diet, nutrition is a really powerful tool for improving our mental health.
Absolutely. That's the building block for everything in your brain, right? If you're not getting the fundamentals, for instance, if you're not getting enough protein, and that's a building block, you need to make sure you're getting enough fuel for all of your cells, which would be like fat or carbs, right? But in the proper amount, right? And then you need all of the, in chemistry, you'll call it like cofactors, right? You want it like, so like to get all of the things or biochemical pathways to run, right? So you might have the building block, but then you need to make a change, right? So you need cofactors, and they're typically like, especially for your brain, things like B vitamins, magnesium, CoQ10, even L-carnitine, like lots of those nutrients are really helpful for brain health. So like I'll also say get a really good quality multivitamin, because often a lot of those things are in a really good multivitamin, and then maybe add magnesium, like those type of things also. We're not getting that as much in our diet anymore. It's not in the foods as it used to be. So like supplementing with magnesium is another good thing to help with like brain health and energy overall.
Okay, great. And so something I want to talk about, if maybe you have any advice or guidance, is that people are so busy, and you work with women, moms who are, I feel like, especially busy and just have so much to do, endless to-do lists. And I feel like our society is set up right now as convenience, right? So like fast food, very convenient, very quick. So what would you say to people that want to prioritize their mental health through their nutrition, through what they're eating, but they're just so busy that it's so hard to work full time, commute, pick up your kids, manage the kids. And I'm not a parent, but so much goes into that, so busy, so much. And they just feel like they don't have energy or time to prioritize what they're eating, or they don't even know where to start to make it more accessible.
Yeah, I would say kind of once you know where you're at, and if you're working with someone, like if I was working with someone, I would say like, where are you at, right? And kind of meet them exactly where they're at. Can they start, like I mentioned before, with a breakfast, right? Can they make one change, add one thing to breakfast? What is their capacity? Can they make a smoothie and put protein in it? Can they prep ahead for it? What are they capable of doing? Can they set aside part of leftovers from the night before and have it ready for breakfast? Like if that's where they're at, like start with just like one change a week. Or if they have to go out and they have to eat fast, like where are they going to eat? Right? Where are they picking up their food? And like let's think about like where's one healthy thing that they can change for their lunch or their dinner. So just making like simple changes. If you made one change a week, one simple change by the end, like even after 6 months, that'd be 20 plus changes you probably made, which is massive. So just making one small change. And I also recommend tying it to something, depending on the change, of something you like or something that you do every day. So if I say, hey, you need a good high quality multivitamin would really be helpful for you. And then I said, I just can't take it. I just can't remember to take it. So, okay, so what do you do every day? Like, can you take it when you brush your teeth? Can you take it to work? So when you sit down at work and you have something to drink, you take it there. So just find something that you're doing every day and like tie it to that. If you want to do a breakfast in the morning, can you tie it to something they're doing with their kids? Can they make a smoothie or put something aside while they're making a lunch or getting kids ready? How can you tie it to something you enjoy or something that you do every day without thought, like brushing your teeth?
Yeah, great, great tip. Yeah, I think that will be so helpful. Can you talk to us a little bit about sugar? Sugar is a big obstacle. It's a big obstacle for me. I have a sweet tooth. I love junk food. I try to limit it, but sugar I feel like is so hard to tackle because we know it impacts us so much, but it seems to be added to everything. So, when you went on that initial cutting out sugar, how did you even start that? Like, what did you start with, and what made it possible just knowing that it's added to so many different things?
I felt really bad. So that was had some motivation there. So I actually just started looking at the labels. I actually start like, I went into my pantry and I picked out, I don't know why I picked out the bread. I said, is it in bread? Oh my goodness, they added sugar to bread. And I started looking at all the labels of what was happening and it made it kind of, so I think that's why it like cleaned up the diet a lot. So I looked at salad dressings. Oh my gosh, there's a ton in salad dressing. So what can I do differently? Oh, I can easily make a salad dressing and not add sugar to it. And it tastes really good with enough like seasoning and stuff. So, it was kind of like, oh, so what am I going to do? Am I going to eat a salad without dressing? I can't do that. But can I make a dressing with like an oil and even lemon or oil and vinegar and just like oil and lemon and a little bit of salt can be like delicious depending on how you're making it. When I would go to the store, I would just look at the label, how much sugar. And I didn't read the whole label. I would just like how much added sugar, how much added sugar, how much added sugar. And that's where I started. And it cut out like a ton of things, like you can imagine, like everything in my refrigerator I couldn't eat. So like, I had to make changes.
When looking at the labels, it doesn't always just say added sugar, right? Like sometimes it says something different. Like I know high fructose corn syrup is
Oh,
one.
there's probably like 100 different names for added sugar that you can look for on a label. And I just don't have anything in front of me. But yeah, there's a list of like over 100 different names that can be listed as a type of sugar. It's often included as added sugar unless it's considered natural, but it's not very natural. And then they don't consider it added sugar if it's considered a natural ingredient, but typically that's not very natural. If you eat a whole food, like an actual food, like if the list has a ton of ingredients, it's not very whole. If you buy food that don't have lots of ingredients, like if they're bottled or canned, then you can be pretty safe eating that food. But once they start having like like a long list of ingredients, it's highly processed. So I kind of recommend like if you eat a whole food, like you don't have to worry about all the ingredients that are in the bottle. Just pick something else that has, 3 to 5 ingredients. That's typically, you don't see a lot of chemicals in it. And like if you go down that route, it'll be pretty easy. Oh, I do have one tip on sugar. If you have sugar cravings and you
I
have a hard
do.
time eating sugar, so it's not just the like, oh, it tricked me. It's in the barbecue sauce. It's in all the other things. It's like I really want the sugar. Like I really want the sugar. When I was getting my master's, someone said like bitter food will cut the cravings. And I was like, oh, that sounds lovely. But they said dark chocolate. So anything over 75% dark chocolate, I would just get like a high quality dark chocolate and just eat one square. And it did actually curb the cravings I was having for sugar at the time.
Okay, that is a great tip for me specifically because I will, especially around my time of the month, I crave sugar so much. And I don't keep sugar in the house. Like, I don't keep like donuts, cookies, cakes. Like, I try not to
Mm.
keep any of that in the house. It's always available at work and things like that. But I do at home get those cravings, and I usually don't have anything in the house. So I'm like going crazy. I'm like, I need something. It's almost like, and sugar is addictive, right? It is addictive.
It is.
So that's helpful. I will definitely try that and see how that works. But that's great that that worked for you. I think that's a great tip that could be really helpful because we do get those cravings.
Yeah. So it helps for a lot of people. Don't go crazy. Don't eat the whole bar. Just eat like the one little square, eat it, enjoy it, take your time, enjoy it, and then usually that like intense craving for the sugar will go away. But if it doesn't and you really want something, I would just say eat it. Don't say you can't eat it. I would eat just a little bit of it. Because if you say no, the next time you go to eat it, you might eat like the whole thing of donuts, the whole everything, whatever it is. People tend to like go because you really, really want it and you've been depriving yourself. So I am not an advocate of depriving, but in moderation, just eat a little bit of it.
Yeah, I like that you said that because I think when we have these conversations, I think some people might internalize the idea that, okay, I can't have any of this. It's bad for me. It's bad for my mental health. I have to cut out everything. And it's just not always possible or realistic. So I like that you said that, just moderation,
a little bit is fine, just everything in balance. I think that's a great point for people that maybe don't feel like it's possible for them to 100% cut out sugar.
Yeah, because I also think that drives stress, right? Oh my gosh, I can't have that. I'm craving it. I'm doing badly. Like, that's not the point. That you want to be in a state where you can be in that rest, digest, repair state and not stressed. And like, if you get too constrictive with your food and trying to be perfect about the way you eat, you're adding another stressor to your life. And that's also not helpful at all. So I would say everything in moderation. If you want to have a piece of the cake or the cheesecake, which is my favorite thing is cheesecake, just have a little piece of it. I actually don't keep that in the house because I can't control myself with that. But yeah, but if I get it, like I'll just have a piece or a part of it and just don't go crazy. It's all good. You don't have it every day, have it periodically, but you can still enjoy food. Just don't enjoy like a cheesecake every single day.
Okay, great. Valerie, this has been so helpful, such an important conversation. Do you have any sort of last words of wisdom, any sort of advice for somebody that is thinking about, maybe I need to shift my nutrition, my diet to help me improve my mental health?
Yeah, I think if you're feeling that if you're like have a lot of anxiety or stress or you're feeling depressed and you're wondering if food would help, that's usually a clue that if you're wondering if food should help, that you should like either reach out to someone, find someone, or like start making like small changes. Get a really high quality multivitamin, like I said, increase your protein, maybe, eliminate some foods that are inflammatory, like sugars, and see where that goes for you. Maybe some small change is all you need. And if you need something more than that, then reach out to somebody that can maybe help guide you in a way that you're going to be able to actually implement changes.
Okay, perfect. Before we wrap up, do you have any other, I know you mentioned the sugar. Do you have any other examples of inflammatory foods?
So lots of oils. So like fried foods, like lots of oil. So like I think most people know about omega-3s and omega-6s, and you want a good ratio there. And I think the fat center American diet is really out of whack with that ratio. So reducing oils, like olive oil is a good oil, but some of the other seed oils or vegetable oils are not great. They also oxidize quickly if they're not in a dark place. So you have to worry about like the quality of them. So I said, so like when you're frying foods, right, you have to be really careful. Now, omega-6s are not all bad. You need some of them to be healthy, but we kind of go a little bit too far. So like I would say oils, be careful with your oils. And then also your sugars to start, and then the carbs, pastas, breads, things like that everyone loves. Just look at cutting them back because they will also cause like blood sugar spikes, which is also inflammatory.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for this conversation. I would love if you could share where everyone can find you.
Anybody can reach me at my website. It's you have to actually put in the www.hawkinshealthandwellness.com.
Okay, perfect. And I will definitely put that link in the show notes. Valerie, thank you so much for being here today.
Great. No, thank you, Desiree. Appreciate it.
I really hope that you liked this episode and gained a lot of value from it. If you did like this episode, please share it on social media. You can tag me at The Wellness Project with Des on Instagram and at According to Des on Facebook. If you do enjoy my podcast and gain value from it, I would greatly appreciate your support. You can show your love and support by buying me a coffee. This will help my podcast to grow and in turn will help me to keep bringing on amazing guests. You can go to buymeacoffee.com/the wellness project with Des to show your support. All books written by or recommended by my amazing podcast guests are listed on my Amazon storefront. Go to the link in the show notes to check out those books. I would love to extend an invite to you to become a part of my community. You can do this through Facebook, where we will be discussing this episode. I would love for you to share your insights, any aha moments, any thoughts or ideas you would like to contribute. You can contribute in the discussion taking place in my Facebook group, and it's a great place to connect with me because I am in there every day with mental health and wellness content, discussions, reflections, journal prompts. It's a fun and supportive place to be. You can find the group at facebook.com/groups/according to Des, and that link will also be in the show notes. You can also check out more of what I'm doing on my website, accordingtodes.com. You'll find a lot of wellness blogs, written interviews, detailed podcast show notes, and my shop, where you will be able to find workshops, my self-care course, digital downloads, ebooks. There's a lot going on my website, so make sure you check that out at accordingtodes.com. And while you're there, join my email list to stay in the know about what I have going on and available for you. When you sign up, you will get your free ebook, The 5 Stress Reduction Techniques to help you feel more relaxed. Thank you so much for being here. I will talk to you next week. So until then, I hope you have a calm and peaceful week.